Sport24 chief writer Rob Howing is with us in studio this morning to give us a recap of some of the weekend's results and other big talking points. Rob, thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Morning, Nick.
At late notice. Let's start with, as we often do, with Super Rugby. It was round 13 this weekend. A couple of talking points. I think we should probably start with the officiating in the Stormers Blues game, which seemed to create quite a stir on social media. And then we can talk about the rest of the African conference. What did you make of the officiating? And someone like Sean Veldsman doesn't have the best reputation up in the TMO box.
Yeah, it was one of those games where I think the New Zealand side did have a certain right to feel aggrieved. The funny thing was that the Blues had actually taken a serious grip on the game at one point, and I actually thought that despite some slightly lenient refereeing, favouring the Stormers, that the Blues were going to close out the game quite comfortably. The Stormers were looking a little bit sort of clueless at times, a bit leaden-footed, I thought, and all of a sudden somebody flicked the switch. And yes, the Stormers were certainly helped by the quality of the refereeing, but they did to their credit sort of turn up the heat when it really mattered in the game. Something just sort of seemed to sort of twig that they could actually beat this side.
I think that was the big question. So, Rob, did they deserve that win?
I think just about in the end, and that's despite the refereeing. Refereeing is such a contentious issue because when South African teams go to New Zealand and for instance, come up against an Australasian or a New Zealand-specific referee, we also have a reason to beef at times. But look, two wrongs don't make a right. The fact remains that Jaco van Heerden is under the spotlight for a couple of issues. His liaison with the TMO left a little bit to be desired. Sean Veldsman seemed a little bit non-committal at times. Subsequently, we learned, of course, that Sean Treby got a 3-week suspension for his dangerous tackle, which basically poleaxed the Blues fly-half, Piers Francis, and that rightly led to the sort of to sort of censure after the fact, which is never ideal. It tells you that the sort of on-field procedures were not sort of cutting the mustard. You also, of course, had that flashpoint where there was the handbags. Eben Etzebeth. Often, teams do try to niggle him because they know that he is the sort of the Stormers' hard man. If you can sort of get to the hard man, you sort of think maybe we can get to everybody. And he more or less. You could see that there was a bit of an elbow to the face, which of course is going to land you in trouble. So he got a yellow card, and that was quite right. But when all is said and done, I have seen worse instances of poor officiating, where there's been more of a sort of where the stink was more justified in a sense. Yeah. So I don't think it was such a major talking point. In the end, the Stormers got in by more than a full score. It was 8 points. So at the end of the day, you've got to say Stormers did produce the goods when it mattered.